Hi everyone. No major news today, so let's get straight into the data and charts. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Moving over to the Fear and Greed Index, it finally happened. We stepped back into extreme greed. Overall at a 76, we saw a pretty decent spike up today, and then looking at momentum back into extreme greed. Strength and breadth have been in extreme greed this whole time. Put call ratio still hovering in regular greed, and then again, volatility, it did pull back a little bit more here today, but it's really still elevated in my opinion at a 19.7. Safe haven demand, extreme greed, junk bonds, greed. So again, pretty much across the board except for volatility in greed or extreme greed. So markets extended to the upside, but again, they continue to go higher in price. Moving over to earnings for tomorrow, you got United Health, J&J, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, United Airlines, fairly interesting, and Walgreens, always fun to watch, especially here recently. And then for the Wednesday, if you hold anything overnight, you will have a little bit in the morning, ASML, Abbott Labs, so some of those semiconductor stocks getting kicked off. And then Morgan Stanley, US Bank Corp, as well as Discover, Equifax to round out the Wednesday. Moving over to the economic calendar, there was nothing really here for today. A couple of Fed speakers. For tomorrow, not a whole lot either. New York Fed 1-year consumer inflation expectation, fairly interesting. And then for the Wednesday, really not much either. So really light week on the economic data front. Moving over to Max Pain, you can see Max Pain is still all the way down at 563 for the end of the week. Stock price 584, massive jump. Put call ratio still quite high, 2.8. Total options, not a ton for a third week options expiration, but still 2.7 million. You can see the put and the call walls here, 560, 570, call wall 575. Doesn't seem to matter quite yet. And then these puts kind of slope out here. Top of the puts would be 582 for me. We're already well above that, so market's very, very bullish here. And you can see just how many calls are way out here, tons and tons of calls. But again, markets do not seem to care about this. Market's pushing into that call range pretty aggressively, but we'll see how that plays out for the end of the week. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, got a big gap and go for the day, up 0.82. Momentum bullish RSI almost into overbought at a 68.5. Again, extreme greed. Based on this, we should be looking for a trend up here around the 600 level, 598, somewhere in there. Everything continues to look bullish here on the daily time frame, especially with that breakout we saw from the Friday continuation into the Monday. Markets are still playing that style move. And remember, this is still price discovery on the S&Ps. This is a new all-time high. And like I said, it seems like we're going to push back up to that trend here. And then looking at the short time frame here on the hourly chart, really no change to the thesis. Pushed super aggressive early, and then we got grinding price action into the mid-session and end of the day, and it continues to rally here in the after hours. Huge volume at the end of the session, which was a bullish candle, continuation to drift higher in the after hours. So based on that, everything should continue higher into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the Tasty charts, obviously you can see that same bullish move, but we did hit the upper ATR band. We said that that was a possibility. That was at 582.60, and then the next two candles, it continued to grind a little bit higher. Right now it's at 585.65. That'll continue to step up, but we did hit that band. Usually that starts to slow down price action. Seen it many, many times. This is a zone where you kind of get sideways choppy action, which is what I would expect after today's push. A little bit more sideways chop, maybe a pullback in time and then continuation. Structure is still very bullish. ATR trailing stops continue to step up aggressively. ATR bands curving up aggressively. So everything still looks very bullish. You can see that trailing stop is now at 577.73 after today's move, and it's crossing the midline here of my ATR bands. Again, super aggressive on the rally. Everything continues to look strong. And just another example here, you can see very aggressive push right to the ATR band, sideways choppy for a couple days, continuation, and that seems to be what we're seeing right now. Moving over to the Qs, similar thesis, gap and go on the day, took out this previous high, very strong push, 0.84, momentum bullish, RSI bullish, right into this range here. We did fill that gap finally. It seems like we're going to be right back to these all-time highs within just a couple of days. If this continues to rally and do what it's doing, 65.57 on the RSI, so a little bit of room there. If this gets the push to the upper trend, that would give you a price target of around 511, 512, and another 3% of potential upside. So we'll see how that plays over the next couple of days. Once we hit there, though, that would be the termination of the move for me. think we're going to hit it, get something like this, a retest of that lower band. But overall, this is still a bullish structure as we trend towards that upper band and back towards those all-time highs. And then moving over to the NASDAQ, actually a pretty different thesis here. You can see that first candle was super aggressive, pretty solid pullback, 0.5% down on the second candle. Momentum fading here. We did continue to see bullish move, but didn't eclipse that initial high that we got in, sideways action after that. So not as strong as the SPY, which just continued to go higher pretty much throughout the session. Again, still could push. 500 is right there at the big psychological level. And then I did add a level at the all-time high, which is 503.52. I think this can continue to go into that zone. We'll see how it plays. Obviously, everything is still bullish going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the Qs on the Tasty charts here, you can see we did not quite touch that upper ATR band. So again, not as aggressive on the Qs. Interesting to see that. Upper ATR band right now is at 499.33. We just missed it on the first candle, couldn't quite get there on the rest of them. Momentum still technically a little bit bearish there on the volume weighted MACD. Volume not as great here. ATR trailing stop continues to step up on those candles, which is now at 490.78. So that's a pretty tight stop now on the 4-hour chart, only $7 lower, but still looking for a touch of that upper ATR, which is at 499.33 right now. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. The Russell did exactly what we thought, pushed through the level, almost to the trend line there. Price target 223.39 is for tomorrow. Again, got the push, got the continuation. I think there's more in it. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. If we get the break of the trend, 226 is my next target there. Might see a little resistance at this previous high, but this has been a strong push. I think it's got more. And then looking at the Dow, pushed right to the trend line here. Maybe technically above it. If it can break, your next trend would be 436.50 or so. Moving over to the Mag 7. Mag 7 was positive 0.63, but still in the same trading range we've been in pretty much since the 19th of September. Basically the same level here. So still in the same trading range. Mag 7 not really going with markets. Momentum bearish, RSI a little bit bearish. This has been sideways choppy to bearish over the last couple weeks. And like I said in the weekend video, market leaders are not really leading markets higher, at least for right now. Moving over to Uber and SOFI to follow up on these last two. Uber did get an inside candle, so maybe this is a little bit done in the short term, maybe pull back in time. I would still look for a trend touch up here around $91, $92. But the bigger story here is SOFI with the massive breakout above this trend line, gapped right through it, rallied super aggressive up to the 10s, back into this consolidation from over here in mid-December. So if it breaks out from this consolidation, then your next most recent high is up around 1150 or so. So SOFI on a massive run, it's had a big move here of about 30%. And it seems like there's a little bit more in it, to be honest. Maybe another 10, potentially 20%. Moving over to Microsoft and Apple, we got Apple pushing back above the 230.28 level. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. So that's another clean move here. It's above the trend. We've had a fake out like this back on the 30th. If it can get above here and hold, 237 is the next level. This is a clean break here on Apple. Held the higher low, potentially has a little bit more in it. I still liked Apple back here. Then you can see we had a huge reversal back and broke the 55 technically, faked out to the low side, and then we were back into the consolidation. But now we have a bit of a swing. Maybe Apple's got something in it. And then looking at Microsoft here, tried to rally with markets, couldn't, 0.68 to the upside. Momentum still going, RSI technically above it here, but I am still watching this bearish structure. So waiting to see what happens. 413 I think is the critical level, 413.36. If it breaks, I think we're going a lot lower. If this trend line breaks here, then maybe we get a bit of an upswing. That level is at about 425.50. Moving over to Tesla and NVDA. Tesla was basically unchanged, 0.68 inside candle. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish, but 214 still hanging in there. Got another test of that zone, ended up holding up okay. So could have been just supplemented by markets, which were bullish on the day, but 214, interesting level, and then NVIDIA continuing this run up to the all-time high. Still think it's going to touch that 140.76 level, probably tomorrow at this point. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish, but also a little bit overbought at a 70.45. Moving over to Amazon and Google here, we got Amazon trying to break out that 188.68 level, couldn't do it. Ended up giving it all back and turning negative on the day, 0.68. Sitting on the 21 EMA, still a critical level, 187.41. If that breaks, I think we're probably headed back down to the 181 area. If it holds, we're probably pushing back up to trend resistance here around 192.50. And then looking at Google, got the breakout through the trend line here, gapped the level, pushed up 1.11%, looking for a touch of that 144 EMA, which is at 168.50. That's about another 1%, 1.5% higher. Momentum bullish, RSI right at that point where if it's going to reject, it's going to do it here. If it breaks through, maybe we have a continuation up into overbought conditions. So Google, looking to see what happens here. Right now, it looks a little bit bullish in my opinion. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon. Both of these had great days. They continued to do what we thought that they might. RIOT hit the price target at 878. Now we'll see what happens. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish, some volume in there. If it breaks through, maybe we get a push to 940 or the next level in here at 1048. And then looking at Mara, actually had the better day percentage wise, 5.6%. Got through this consolidation of EMAs, through a big wick to this previous high. Now you want to see if it can hold here and push to that 1878 level. Big volume on both of those really, especially in comparison to what we've been seeing recently. Seems like both of them are catching a little bit of a bullish move. Kind of a risk-on environment, at least here in the short term. Moving over to 20 and 50-day Breadth. Breadth caught a little bit of an up move, so again, should see a little bit of continuation there. So small pullback right back into this range. Same here on 50-day. Pull back to the 200, right back into this range. So markets regaining some ground here on Breadth as they go higher. And that's really what you want to see. You want to see price going higher with Breadth going higher. Means it's a little bit more of a healthy rally, and that's what we're seeing right now with that big Breadth move that we got here today. Moving over to the dollar here on the daily and the hourly chart here, you can see we did get a little bit of a push here, hit the trend finally, so we hit that price target, and you can see that here on the daily chart, another strong day, 0.29, pushing to that level, pulling back here slightly. Momentum continues to fade on the daily, but very, very strong move. Nearly every day here has been a bullish day. Just a little bit of hesitation here on the 7th and 8th, and then strong continuation. So looking to see what happens here. Is it going to reject? Are we going to get that higher low setup? Then we can kind of start a healthier trend. Or is it just going to continue to go vertical? Interesting again to see equities and the dollar going higher at the same time. Definitely a little concerning to me. Moving over to JNK and TLT, you can see JNK catching a little bit of an up move, 0.06. TLT, same thing, 0.07. Momentum kind of swinging here. Bonds catching a little bit of a move. It did make a new lower low here just briefly. The low of day was all the way down at 92.98. Almost touched my level, 92.82. Before we pushed back up into the 93.77 level. Again, still super oversold here on JNK. I think we're going to catch a base here soon. I think 92.82 should hold up. Similarly here on JNK, getting that bit of an upswing. Price target there would be the 21 EMA at 97.21. Moving over to volatility, you can see volatility falling here pretty aggressive down below the 20 level. At this point, I kind of expect it to fall a little bit more. 21 EMA sitting there at 1830. Probably going to touch that. Momentum fading more aggressively. RSI breaking down. Pretty much everything is reverting back into those bullish conditions. We'll see if we hold a higher low and then see what happens after that. But in the short term, looks like we're going to get maybe 1, 2, 3 more days of bullishness. Then we'll see what happens in that area of support here on the VIX. Moving over to my account. I was pretty deep in the money, so I did not make a ton of money on the day. I ended up at about $300 net, which is not awful. I'm actually pretty okay with that. And then looking at the positions, you can see I rolled out to 2 days from now for the IWM out to 222 for $1.68. And this market's been super aggressive. It was up $1.80 on the day. I made about half of that money. Already slightly negative on that position. Max profit there is at 223.68, so I have about another 50 cents of upside. And then looking at the Qs, rolled all the way up to 494 for tomorrow's session. I got a little bit aggressive. I ended up rolling back down and out a little bit here just to have some credits. That second candle caught me off guard a little bit, but overall not too bad. And I still have good protection going into tomorrow. If we do see about a 1% down move, I should be okay. But otherwise, I think everything looks a little bit bullish. The Qs were a little sluggish. IWM should be good. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the price action right now. Our market's going to just continue to rocket higher, or are we going to run into some resistance here soon? Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.